This video contains some light mentions of emotional abuse as well as spoilers for Wicked Part 1.
Once again,
dancing like a stripper. Somebody come get her. She dancing like a stripper.
Y'all, it is snowing so much outside. Got a freaking hurricane of snow coming down. That's not how that works. It's a blizzard. It's a blizzard. It's a blizzard. It's a twister. It's a flurry. And none of that snow was there when I first woke up this morning, so it's really been coming down. I hope you're happy. Oh, hi Margot.
Oh my!
It's good to see me, isn't it? First things first, let me introducify myself to you, my dear Aussians. I am 23 years old, I have a bad knee, and my name is Lainey, the chaotically neutral witch of the Midwest. I do not have a pointed hat, unfortunately, but I do have this. I'm a complete newbie to the world of Wicked, and yet I have quite a lot to say about it. It's gotta be some sort of like anti-miracle that I never watched this musical because I grew up loving The Wizard of Oz. I am a huge theater nerd, like theater kid from birth, it seems like. And I also used to read a book called One for the Murphys, where one of the main character's friends was super into Wicked, and specifically Elphaba, because she just loved her so much and related to her story a lot. So it makes no sense how all that never spurred me to go see Wicked, but since I didn't, now I get to experience it in half its glory for the first time ever. I only found out this was a part 1 right before going to see it, and even after it was over, it still surprised me that the entire movie was longer than the Broadway show, despite just being half the story. And with that, it still didn't feel overly long to me. I was just so transported by the sets and the singing and the sadness. Seriously, the whole opening set piece for No One Warns the Wicked, without having any clue at all what anyone's motives were, just made me so sad, and I carried that sadness throughout my whole first viewing, and it only kept getting worse as I realized that everyone in Oz is against Elphaba. Or at least that's what I strongly believed after leaving the theater for the first time, but now I've had time to think about it, and I've gone back to see it one more time to refresh my memory. So I'm here now to share with you my thoughts about Wicked Part 1. Part 1. The characters. I think a very good place to start is with the iconic characters and the people who brought them to life on screen for the first time. It's not very often that a movie version of a musical makes me want to go see the stage show, but the way these actors made me fall in love with this story and their charisma and their dynamics together as characters, they did a fantastic job. It was perfect. I'll talk more about it later, but I feel like they got the perfect people with the exact right amount of passion for this show specifically, and it's even having not seen it before, I felt the draw of it because of what they were putting on screen, and I love it so much. It is easy to tell that everyone involved in this movie worked so hard to make it as wonderful as it could be. So, let's talk about them. Elphaba. Cynthia Erivo defied not only gravity, but my expectations as well. I did not know a single thing about her before watching Wicked other than that she chose to look directly down the barrel of the camera at me. So I was not surprised, like obviously they would choose someone who can sing really well, but I'm still blown away at her just raw acting talent and vocal skills. You can just hear and see how much passion and talent she poured into every aspect of her performance. Her acting capabilities as well, like she's got it all. She is the whole package. And I really was not expecting that. So I'm very pleasantly surprised, and just I want to go see it again so bad. She alone fully stopped and stole my heart, especially during a very specific scene that I'll talk about later, and it involves... I personally find myself relating to her character, as I'm sure many of you can. I grew up always feeling like there was nowhere that I belonged, and like there was no place that I fit in, and just like all the things I said were the wrong things, and me existing was just like why am I even here?
I love Elphaba for who she is and what she represents.
and what she's going to mean to other people. And I hope that whoever watches this, whoever feels like they don't fit, like they're different or odd, I hope that they feel seen. Because I know I did.
I'm also grateful for the friendship that she and Galinda do end up forming, because they're two people who couldn't be more different from each other, who end up becoming best friends against all odds. And it just goes to show that if you have just one person in your life, even if the whole rest of the world is against you, every single person, even your own family, if you just have one person in your life that understands you, it can make all the difference. Thanks to Galinda, Elphaba finds her confidence around other people, and I will love her for as long as I live because of Cynthia's portrayal of her. No offense at all meant to the original actors, I just tend to grasp on to the person I saw perform as that character first, and I love them more because that was like my first time ever seeing that character and what made me fall in love with them. So that's just how my brain works, but obviously Idina did I can't say that I know Idina did a good job because I haven't seen the original, but when I do, I'm sure she's fantastic. Also, I love Idina Menzel because I wasn't exactly a Frozen kid, but I was like a Frozen middle schooler, and I loved the song Let It Go so much. It was the song that made me want to learn how to belt, and that's obviously because of Idina, so props to her. And I know she's wicked talented, so no offense at all. Cynthia's she's a goddess on earth. Galinda.
A princess!
Oh, baby. I left this movie for the first time with a swell of confusing thoughts and feelings inside of me, and lots of those were about Galinda's character, one of the most morally gray characters I may have ever seen. There's a lot we're gonna get into, so let me just try and set the stage here. I hated nearly everything about her except for her voice and costumes, because, wow. At the time, that felt like for very good reasons, because she sets her supposed best friend's likeness on fire with zero hesitation in the first 5 minutes of the movie. From that point, I could only view their friendship forming as a moot cause, because we already know it'll end up like that. How could I ever believe that she genuinely cared about Elphaba at all? After seeing that, I pretty much hated her guts for how unfairly she treated Elphaba. However, her personality is very interesting to watch, and she may be genuinely shallow about a lot of things, but you can tell that there is always something just brewing under the surface in her little blonde brain.
Blonde.
Nevertheless, in the end, she doesn't have her best friend's back, and she just goes along and folds to what the people who are actively making Oz worse want, which is exactly what Elphaba doesn't want to do, understandably, because everyone in Oz has always been against her, so why should she be on their side if they're just going to use her? Galinda is too scared to go up against society and isn't willing to give up what she wants for the greater good. From where she sits, she'll still get everything she wants, or so she thinks, but her being forced to choose between that and her best friend is clearly very painful for her. I feel very conflicted about her in general, but I do really like her, and when it all comes down to it, I'll just have to wait for part 2 to see how that half of the story will change my opinion, if it can. Fiyero, oh Fiyero. His and Elphaba's first conversation is hilarious and adorable. You must have blended into the foliage.
Is this how you go through life? Just running amok and trampling anyone in your path?
No. No. Sometimes I'm asleep.
He's the first person besides Miss Morrible to accept her immediately, and he doesn't even have any ulterior motives. How could he? He's got next to nothing going on in that handsome head of his. And like Galinda, he may be a little dumb, but he is able to grow and change due to the catalyst that is meeting Elphaba. For both of them, that is something, meeting her changes both of their lives, that's undeniable. By the way, I heard a little whisper that Fiyero ends up as the Scarecrow, which makes sense since his main number is all about dancing through life without a thought in your head and being brainless.
White head all full of stuffing.
Wait a sec. If that's true, does that mean the wizard is eventually going to send him along with the rest of the original Wizard of Oz gang to go kill Elphaba? Ooh, we'll see what happens there, because I'm not really sure how that's going to work out. Oh my god. Okay, another thing. I have a prediction for the second part of the movie. I still haven't seen the musical, right? So I'm like, this is just based off of what I can gather from the first part. And I think, okay, so Buck loves Glinda, right? Or he has a huge crush on her. He wants to get on a dance with her. But she says, no, you should take Nessa instead. You know, Elphaba's sister. Nessa really likes him. Nessa has a huge crush on him, so he goes to the dance with her and says, oh, the reason I asked you, instead of saying that it's because Glinda wouldn't say yes, it's that you are so beautiful. What if, and also Fiyero has a thing for Elphaba now, but him and Glinda are together, they're together in the movie, but he's starting to kind of feel something for Elphaba as well. So, what if Fiyero goes to try and be with Elphaba, and Bach sees that Glinda is now, like, free? Single? I don't fucking know. What if he leaves Nessa to try and go for her, and that's how Nessa becomes the Wicked Witch of the East, bro? What if? I don't know. What the fuck? All these relationships are so complicated and juicy. Nessa.
Her sister was a witch!
Did you know that Marissa Bode is actually the first person ever to play Nessa Rose who is an actual wheelchair user? First person ever. How cool is that, that she got to be like on the screen for that, and now that's immortalized forever. That was something I was thinking about, because I saw that she was a character in a wheelchair, and I wondered, like, I wonder if she actually is a wheelchair user. And she is. So that's awesome. And so is the little girl who plays her as younger Nessa Rose. She's a wheelchair user as well. I have a few thoughts floating in my head around Miss Nessa Rose, and my feelings toward her are mostly neutral, except for when it comes to the way she treats her sister, because she can see with her own eyes the mistreatment that Elphaba has gone through her whole life, and how all she's ever tried to do is protect her from people who are being mean to them. But I don't understand, like, why she doesn't see that as a good thing, and why she sees her sister as this. I mean, I guess if you're told something so many times, you start to believe it, even if it's not true. And she's grown up hearing, like, oh, Elphaba is bad, Elphaba did this, Elphaba did that. It's all Elphaba's fault, everything that happens. So I guess she maybe kind of latched onto that, and it just kind of stuck with her, in a way, I guess. It sucks that literally all Elphaba's trying to do is protect her sister and make sure that she's safe and fine. And Nessa doesn't really seem to see that. She just sees the bad things about her, of which there really aren't that many. Elphaba's a genuinely good person. Also, I can absolutely, maybe not understand, but sympathize with her struggles of being disabled and having an abusive father towards her and her sister, even though that abuse is more blatantly towards Elphaba. But Nessa absolutely is by him too, like emotionally, because of him, he's the reason she's in that wheelchair, because he forced her mother to chew milkweed, and it ended up making her, like, legs very small and weak when she came out, or something like that. I remember how Elphaba described it. And she blames herself, and her father blames her. It wasn't her fault at all. It was her father's fault that happened, because he was too insecure about having another green baby. So he tried to change that, and it ended up making it worse. Another thing I meant to add about him being emotionally abusive towards Nessa, the way that I see it at least, is that he tries to overly coddle her. He's very much overly protective and tries to make it so that he has to be doing everything for her because he doesn't, like, want to let her go, and I guess that's protective, but it is not what she wants, and he's kind of like trying to rob her of her own autonomy. And I personally find that, at the very least, manipulative, especially given that he sends Elphaba after her out of some paranoia about something happening to her, even though she's literally at school, and she's gonna be just fine. It's just school, but he's too protective, and it's really sad because he doesn't give any ounce of that to Elphaba in turn. I don't like him. Everyone else in the movie is either a villain in disguise, a simp for Glinda, or dancing in the background. So why don't we move on to something that went way over my head on the first viewing. Part 2, Queerness in Oz.
As you said, Oz is a very queer place.
So, yeah, I completely missed the queer romance that was being so clearly broadcast. Don't know how, because I myself am a pan theater kid, so it's a little weird that I didn't see it at all first time through, especially now that I know every fan of this show ships Gelfie, and other newbies like me did notice it on the first time. So I have no excuse. Although I can admit my anger for everyone that wasn't Elphaba was pretty distracting. But I have had a brain blast, and I think that perhaps the reason I didn't notice it is because it wasn't so blatant and in your face. Like, here's gay, look at the gay stuff. Yay, be happy, gay stuff. It was more being queer in Oz is normal for everyone, anyone in society. Like, if you're queer, that's like, they wouldn't even probably use that word maybe, because it's just like the way that things are.
I mean, Oz is just a celebration of uniqueness, and everyone is so beautiful in Oz, and I don't think it even is a conscious discussion.
So what you're saying is everyone in Oz is...
I think so, a little bit.
People and animals alike seem to be much more fluid in their identities.
Even like the chickens. Those
Snow
chickens
leopard with
are
the little
gay.
cape.
From students of every gender wearing half skirts, half shorts, the citizens of the Emerald City all having extravagant outfits and makeup for seemingly just a normal day in Oz, to Fiyero flirting with everyone, no matter their assumed gender, and everyone being into him as well, although I guess you could put that down to him being a hunky rich prince, but I digress. And I had no idea that queerness has been a theme of L. Frank Baum's books since forever, since he started writing them. That fact makes me love the world of Oz even more, and also explains maybe a little bit why I've been so obsessed with it my whole life. Because I think, and maybe subconsciously, it was like being broadcast to me that Oz is a safe space for anyone who just is trying to be themselves. And I think that maybe I've always felt that, but I just never could understand that because I was too young. But it's very cool to realize that now and understand that Oz is a safe place for many queer people. And I didn't know that Judy Garland is a queer icon. You learn something new every day. Part 3, the funny.
Give that a whirl.
I was not expecting to laugh as much as I did watching this, in the same way that I didn't expect the Barbie movie to be so funny. And coincidentally, I went to see that movie with the same person that I went to see Wicked with. And I especially wasn't expecting Glinda to be like the funniest character.
Your name?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Ever since I graduated high school and had to leave my beloved theater program behind, my heart has yearned for the magic that a stage show can make me feel, and the improvised moments give that to me in spades, as well as one other aspect of the movie that I had no clue about until after I watched it the first time. Part 4, the music. After seeing it for the first time, I could not believe it when I heard that they did the singing live on set. But as soon as I did find that out, I immediately got another ticket to go see it again that very day. And I did, which I will have a little vlog up on my Patreon about if you're interested at all to see that. Ever since I watched it for the first time, I had the soundtrack on repeat, so I already knew by then, by heart, what it sounded like in this recording booth. So going to see it again and hearing all the differences and how it sounds like dynamically on set versus in a sound booth was awesome. It was, I was like, there's no way. And especially, oh God, especially during Defying Gravity. Like, are you kidding me with being like swung and going upside down and still sounding perfect? How? I have more to say about that later. I have to take it back a notch. Okay. I need to commend every single person on the set who made that magic happen, especially Cynthia and Ariana. for their wickedly killer voices, and them singing together and separately have got to be some of the most beautiful sounds that I have heard all year, or maybe in my entire life.
There's no fight we cannot win, just you and I defying gravity.
No one mourns the wicked. After how sad the opening made me, I was not expecting to love No One Mourns the Wicked as much as I do now. It is incredibly emotional to listen to, and Glinda's voice while singing She Died Alone just... They have made me cry repeatedly. Also, I want to point out how these supposedly good munchkins literally give no fucks about Elphaba at all. Even though she literally came from Munchkin Land and she likely knows a lot of them, they don't care. They're like, oh, she was wicked, she's the enemy. Why? She's been our enemy since she was born. What? Especially after Glinda takes the time to tell them her life story, how she was like the daughter of the governor, and how immediately upon being born, everyone like discarded her and was like, oh no, like she's green. She can't be good if she's green, right? So, and even it's just frustrating. It's really frustrating to see how happy all these people are that this good person is dead, because everyone else always said that she's wicked, so they started to believe it. And I originally wanted to title this video, Who's the Real Wicked One? Because in my eyes, Glinda was like one of the wickedest and like worst characters before I realized like, oh, okay, she's not like completely bad. And she does do some bad things, but she is not a bad person, so to say. It's complex. She's gray, but you know who's not gray? Those goddamn munchkins. Those munchkins are not gray. They are pure evil for how they treat Elphaba and like completely dismiss anything that has to do with like something that could explain why she was the way that she was. Like, it's literally not wicked to just exist and be born a certain way. It's not. And that's the theme of this, isn't it? Like, people will hate you for who you're born as, and you have to either accept that or, like, say, fuck that. I'm going to do my own thing, no matter what anyone else says. And I love that. I love that for Elphaba. She is so strong. She is so mighty. She is so smart and sharp. Don't you think? And her dad, oh, my bangs were stuck to my little applique here. I just had to rip them off, or, you know, gently tug them off. And also, her dad is such a piece of shit. My God. He treats her so badly, literally just because she came out green. That's the only reason. She's never done anything bad to him. She's never done anything to, like, make anyone hate her. It's literally just because she's green, and I don't get it. Okay, I sort of forgot about the fact that as soon as she's born, she is able to, like, levitate things, and that, like, scared everyone, I guess. But the point still stands that the only reason she did that in the first place is because her father rejected her, and being upset activates her powers. So, Elphaba deserves so much better because she is such a genuinely good person. It's so sad. What is this feeling?
We were roommates back at school.
Oh God, they were roommates.
My roommate, Elfie, Linda.
Oh my God, they were roommates!
What is this feeling is probably my favorite song in the whole soundtrack. At least it will be until I hear all the songs in part 2, and then I'll see which are my favorite out of them then. But What Is This Feeling is great. I love it so much. It's so catchy, it's so bouncy, it's funny. Like, every time I listen to it, the blonde makes me laugh. And also, like, the whole beat with their stomped footsteps to the choreography and, like, walking along with the books and all that. It's so great. And the chemistry between them, like, butting heads is just really, really entertaining always to watch. Like, loathing, unadulterated loading. Dancing through life has been stuck in my head for days. At first, I hated this song because Fierro just like kind of annoyed me at first, and also the abuse he was putting those poor books through just it tested my heart a little bit. I was very upset that he was doing that, like just stepping on them and sliding them around and using them as like coasters. Like, bruh, they're books. Have some respect. You came from a book. Your character came from a book, Fierro. Have some respect. The amount of planning that went into the dancing through like all the spinning bookshelves and going through holding on to box legs and all that, and like being able to still sing while actually being spun upside down on like a thing that you're strapped into. Again, like how do these people do it? They are mad talented. And I don't understand how. Well, I do. It's hard work and dedication and passion for the craft, and I aspire to achieve that someday. Seriously, this movie has invigorated so much of the like sleeping like passion for musical theater that I had just like waiting and lying in wait, and then like this is just letting it all come out, and I'm so happy about it. I love this movie so much. And while I was watching this, like, I didn't want to like this song at first. Like, I was just... He started to sing, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you're brainless, whatever, yeah, we get it, you're dumb, who cares? And I was just, like, not vibing with it at first, but eventually, once the big choreographed dancing started, like, I felt the urge to get up out of my chair and, like, jump into the screen and dance with them all because it's just so infectious and perfect, and I love it. And of course, the Ozdes duet right before the final push of Dancing Through Life puts it up at the top of my personal list of my favorite things about Wicked. So now let's move on to the Ozdes duet with the boop boop. Oh man, every time I listen to this song on the soundtrack, it just brings me right back to that moment, and I get choked up and I start to cry, like usually in my car on the way to work. It is, it's so beautiful. It's such a good moment in the movie. Glinda's soft little, it's okay, like when she's wiping away her tear and just dances with her, it heals something in my heart whenever I imagine that moment again. And experiencing it for the first time was just, oh, it was a lot. It was the only moment that made me cry the first time that I watched it through. Second time through, I was basically crying through the whole thing. But that moment specifically touched me deeply because I actually have a little story that kind of relates to this scene, in that when I was in 7th grade, about 13 years old, I went to a dance all dressed up, full makeup for the first time ever. My hair was curled and I had this like beautiful yellow dress on, and I felt gorgeous. I felt ready to take on the night and the world. But when I finally did get the courage to dance by myself, because I'm at a dance, that's what you do, you dance. These 3 girls came up to me who I knew did not like me, and the middle one, literally like a Mean Girls movie, came up to me and went, honey, no. And that shattered my confidence for so long after that. And I was like, nope, I'm never gonna move a muscle in public ever again. I'm never gonna dance or do anything weird in front of anyone ever again, which now I realize, like, fuck that. But as a kid, it just, it wrecked me for a while. So I can only wonder what would have been maybe if I had someone like Galinda there to move with me and learn my own rhythm and dance with me, like, and help me see that I'm not alone, because I felt very alone that night. So watching this scene and watching Elphaba and Glinda connect in that way just heals something very, very deep in my heart and my soul. It's just, it's almost indescribably beautiful. Every time I see that, every time I think about it, it just, it takes me back to that feeling. But it also feels like that feeling is being healed, because you know that there are people out there who will accept you for exactly who you are and learn like your rhythm and like move to your own beat of your drum, and you can learn to move to theirs if you want, and just be together and accept everything that makes you different and unique. Oh, if I don't move on from this, I'm gonna cry. But there is one more thing I wanted to talk about with this scene that someone pointed it out, and I didn't realize this, but it's so funny to me.
Oh, God. Mustn't let you get wet.
Huh?
One short day in the Emerald City. So about one short day, there was something that was nagging me about the chorus part a little bit. I was like, this sounds so familiar. I feel like I've heard this song before, but I've never seen Wicked. So I was like, what is this? Like, what am I hearing? And then I realized Newsies.
Bronx will be riding if we're united. Let us seize the day.
There's something exquisite. You'll want to visit for this mood.
It's almost exactly the same. Maybe that's just like a really common chord progression that I wasn't aware of, but I just thought that was cool. And I was not expecting to see Idina and Kristen there. Like, everyone else wasn't, like, everyone was so surprised by that. And when they showed up, I literally grabbed my friend's arm and, like, shook her. And I was like, oh my God, really? Wait, they're actually, no way, they're doing this. They're actually there. That's crazy. Oh my God. And good for them for getting them on, because that is such a cool idea to have the people who originated those roles interact with the actual roles, like the girls, like as they're playing them. Like, it was so cool. And also I thought it was so funny seeing her, you know, cover her mouth like, nope, you get to sing for the rest of the movie. This is my moment. I'm singing now. And oh my God, Idina pulling down her witch hat, like, it was Also, I would almost bet money that Cynthia and Ariana asked John to bring them on, because he listened to them about some other stuff that they brought up. Like, one thing was changing Who Rang That Bell to The Wizard Will See You Now, because that was apparently what was in the original musical, and they were like, no, it cannot be Who Rang That Bell. It's The Wizard Will See You Now. So I would almost be willing to bet that they, like, came to him and were like, hey, so for the Magical Wise Ones, can it actually be, like, you know, the Magical Wise Ones, the original ladies? Like, so cool. Such a cool moment. Like, oh, great that they did that. And they still sound amazing. Like, I just, they're so talented. Everyone is just brimming with talent, and I'm so happy to see it all on one screen together. And I have a question for anyone out there who may know. Can someone please explain why they call the book a grimoire rather than a grimoire? Because from what I'm aware of, most spell books are usually called grimoires, and I've never even heard of a grimoire. But if maybe that grimoire is like easier to rhyme or something, although I doubt that's the case. Maybe grimoire is also just another general word used to describe a spell book, so I'm not sure about that. If you have an answer, comment down below, please. Defying Gravity. So Defying Gravity was the only song I had heard before actually going to see Wicked, and I have loved it ever since I first listened to it. To me, the song is about her realizing that her power is her own, and she alone can decide how it's used, because after all, with great power comes great responsibility, right? And she's taking responsibility for the things that she sees are wrong in Oz, and she wants to go and fix them if she can, with or without the wizard's help. Even though, what can he do to help? He's a sham. He's a con artist. He's a damn bastard. Even without knowing the context of the story told in Wicked, Idina's voice moved me so much. So I was anticipating the moment that this song would happen in the movie so heavily. And as soon as I finally realized what was happening, and it was like the scene was starting, I jumped in my seat. I was so excited. And oh my God, guys, when I heard, I didn't see any previews or like clips of anything about Wicked before seeing, so I was able to hear her riff for the first time on that stage. Not even on that stage. It felt like a stage with how it all has been, but no, on that screen, and I heard her do the riff. My jaw was in my lap, and I got chills all over my body from the top of my head down to my ankles. And I have to mention, do you have any idea how difficult it is to belt accurately while literally being swung around in the air and being tossed upside down and like pretending to fly on a broom and falling down and like doing all this crazy stuff while you still sound perfect. Like, that was part of the reason I almost didn't believe that the singing was live on set, but no, she really did that. And I have to question, is Cynthia actually a witch? Because I don't understand how you can make that magic happen if you're a normal person.
So if you can't find me, out to the western sky.
I can't even articulate how, like, mind-blowing that is to know that that's, like, what she did. She's being hoisted with the thing, like, you breathe in your diaphragm, so, like, you have to, like, hold that air there, and literally she has the belt on her, pulling her all to and fro, side to side, all that stuff, and she's like, like, so perfectly. I don't understand, but I love her so much. I love her so much for doing all that, like, god damn. I didn't quite have time to mention every single song on the track list, but some honorable mentions that I enjoy listening to very much are The Wizard and I, of course. I really love the wordplay of verdigris rhyming with degreenify. I just think that's really clever. And at the end of it, in the theaters, I literally very quietly clapped because I felt that Cynthia deserved it for that song. Also popular, because duh. And I also really love I'm Not That Girl, especially the lyrics. Every so often we long to steal to the land of what might have been, but that doesn't soften the ache we feel when reality sets back in. First of all, that's just a absolutely brilliant rhyme, and the power behind those words really touches my heart. So I just wanted to give it a shout out because I really, really like basically every song in this show, except for like a couple that I just find boring, but I'll talk about that later. So for making the right choice to stand up for what's right and saying no to what she's wanted for her entire life, to stick by that, I gotta say, I don't have a hat on, but hats off to Elphaba. Speaking of hats, part 5, the hat. Okay, y'all, the hat. Get ready, because I have a lot to say about the hat. This might be a ramble. Stick with me, please. The hat is a gift from Galinda to Elphaba, who in turn is so touched by this act of goodness that she goes out of her way to insist that Madame Mayhem includes her in the private lessons she's getting, or else she'll quit. Like, how good is that of her to do? For someone who has been nothing but awful and manipulative towards her and everyone else, Galinda is very skilled in the art of getting people to like her. A major example being telling the Munchkin boy, who's thirsting after her in the musical plot and in real life, to ask Nessa to the dance, which then hoists Galinda into even Elphaba's good graces, seeing how happy Galinda just made her little sister. And by the way, I just have to say, Nessa asking Elphaba to understand something that she has probably wanted her whole life, just to have one night out and have fun and forget about all the troubles and worries that she was born into, is infuriating, because of all people to know how Elphaba feels, it should be her little sister, who she's always tried to protect. Nessa's a good character. She's infuriating, but that's why she's a good character. Like, I have nothing against her. It's just Nessa makes me really mad about a lot of the things she does. So when Miss Morrible shows up to the dance to give Galinda her training wand, she all at once feels overwhelmed with the guilt of trying to embarrass Elphaba on purpose. So when she learns that Elfie's on her way to the dance, she goes to try and stop her, but of course she's too late. So as Elphaba makes her grand, on honestly spectacular entrance, of course everyone laughs at her, and Galinda looks at her with guilt, while hiding the wand that she just got because of Elphaba behind her back, making no move at first to help her in any way. Understandably, Elphaba takes off the hat and puts it on the ground, clearly upset, but then realizes this is nothing she's not used to, and so she decides to do what she came there to do in the first place. Dance. And as she moves around, she grabs the hat and puts it back on to wear with pride. And Galinda, understanding that she's only pretending not to be in pain, joins her in her dance. She copies her moves as best she can until they begin to move seamlessly together, and then gives her the first real hug from a real friend that she's probably ever experienced. Glinda, by validating Elphaba, encourages the other students around them to join in the dance. From that point on, in the film, everyone in school is more inclusive towards Elphaba and starts to treat her with kindness, thanks to Glinda. And also thanks to her fearlessness to do what she wants. But, well, it's not because of that. They start doing that despite that, because she has the approval of Glinda in the public. So everyone is going to obviously go along with what Glinda likes. So yeah, it's kind of sad, but we at least know that what Glinda and Elphaba have is real and not just like fake nice. Like, they are genuinely friends from this moment on. And that's another reason that scene really gets me in particular, because it's just so like, this is like the forming of friendships from being rivals and being like basically enemies from the minute they met and loathing each other, to having genuine care and trust and love for each other. Like, oh my god, it's just, whew, they did that scene so well, oh my god. So the hat symbolizes the bridge of friendship between these two, as well as their shared roles for how they influence the world of Oz, as first as rival students, and then friends, and then, I'm assuming, eventually back to rivals when they end up going their separate ways. It's painful, but it's powerful. Another part, nothing really ends. So that's basically all I have to say about the movie itself. All I can say now is what I'm guessing is going to happen in part 2, because I don't know. I mean, I only know what happens in The Wizard of Oz, so I have that as like my structure, but I don't know how the story is changed in Wicked to fit that stuff in, so I'm very excited to see that. But here's what I think might go down. I have 3 theories. Not really theories, but just guesses, if you want to say that. So 1, I have to wonder if Nessa's attitude towards Elphaba will change in part 2, now that they're all the family that the other one has left due to their father dying in the end.
Nothing she says. She has stolen our memory. She...
Whether that's for better or for worse, I guess I'll just have to wait to find out. 2, when the original Wizard of Oz gang shows up, the amount of drama that will be happening between Elphaba, Glinda, Nessa, Fiyero, and Bach when Dorothy drops in is going to be mind-boggling, and I dread it as much as I am excited to see what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. Like, And I'm also very curious to see what those characters will look like in a modern day version of this story, so that's really exciting for me. I love the Tin Man. I love the Tin Man. He's my favorite. I can't handle any of these men anymore. What is with all of these freaking guys in Wicked getting turned into people that aren't like humans? Like, I already got spoiled that Fiyero was going to turn into the Scarecrow, and now Bach is apparently going to be the Tin Man. I can't. What the fuck is happening? Why? Why does it have to be him? Why does Bach have to become... What do you mean? Why is Bach my favorite of the main 4 from The Wizard of Oz? Why does Bach, of all people, have to be him? And also how? And last but not least on my list, and this is the big one, and I'm positive that I'm right about this. It completely, like the gayness, went over my head completely when I watched it the first 2 times. You may have noticed I didn't mention A Sentimental Man in my list talking about the songs. And there's 2 good reasons for that. One is that it's my least favorite song on the track. Like, it's not bad. It's pretty, and Daddy Jeff sings very, very well for it. I was very surprised to hear that. I didn't know he had pipes on him like that. The bigger reason I didn't mention it is by listening closely to a certain line in No One Mourns the Wicked, and also through the blatant obviousness in the lyrics of the song that he sings to Elphaba and Glinda, I realized that the wizard is Elphaba's biological father. The Wiz is the man that Elphaba's mom banged the night that her dad went away to a conference. So that means that he is her father. And I don't know what that's going to mean for the story. And I don't know if they're even going to find that out. I don't know if he knows. I don't know if Elphaba definitely doesn't know. But maybe the wizard knows. And maybe he was like keeping that on the down low or something. Or maybe he just completely is oblivious and he's just a boy who goes and does, weird stuff with the random ladies in Oz. So if that is true, which I am pretty positive that it is true, because I'll put the clip of me realizing this here. This was right after I saw Wicked for the second time. They literally say it in the movie. When the wizard meets Elphaba, he says, "I have always longed to be a father, and I treat every citizen in Oz as son and daughter," and looks right at Elphaba when he says, "Daughter, I'm here listening to No One Mourns the Wicked." In the part where she says every family has their secrets, and it's her mom and this secret man whose face they don't show in the movie. It sounds a whole lot like Jeff Goldblum. It was only once I realized that he sounded like Jeff Goldblum that I went to look at the people who sing in that song. And Jeff Goldblum, the f***ing Wizard of Oz, is Elphaba's dad. What? So, if that is true, and if the Wise One's prophecy wasn't just some magic bullshit they were spouting to explain the wizard's arrival, then he unintentionally begat the one who would eventually be able to read the Grimoire. And that's very interesting, and I really want to know if they realized that at any point, but please try to avoid spoiling stuff in the comments. Like, I don't want to know if they find out. I just want to find out when I find out by watching part 2. One more thing before I move on to the end is I really, really enjoyed the look of the wizard's steampunk looking head and like how his voice sounds coming through it. Like when he's like, guards, and it goes like super low and it's just his cool like head coming out through the like, it's not even like curtains. I like that they chose like hanging like almost like velvet green vine looking things for his head to come through. It looked really, really cool. I loved that. I loved the aesthetic of everything in the Emerald City, but especially in his little like his little like workshop. Like I thought that was a very creative take on the head, the floating head. It kind of reminds me of if you've ever seen The Labyrinth, like the who goes, that big puppet thing. It sounds like that and it kind of looks like that, honestly. Pretty cool. Love steampunk, metal, weird looking stuff. I don't know what this, ignore that. I'm really grateful to this movie for introducing me to the world of Wicked, and it's not even over yet. And that's what's so exciting about it. It's part 1, so we have another one that's coming, and it's probably going to be even longer than the first one, and I am ready for it because I need more Wicked in my life after being so obsessed with it for the past month and a half since it came out. And I'm so ready for whatever comes next after this, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to see which of my theories are right and which are wrong. Like, I'm pretty sure that all of it is probably in the vein of being correct, but how am I supposed to know? I have no idea. So I am very excited to find that out. Oh, please pardon me. My throat is getting a bit scratchy. So until that time when part 2 comes out, remember, there's no place like home. Unless your home is Oz and you're born with green skin and everyone there hates people with green skin, even though literally the capital of Oz is named after a green stone. So it doesn't really make much sense that everyone would hate someone who's green. I truly don't get that, especially in a world where animals can talk. Like, come on, what is with that? For you Aussians who enjoyed this video and are in the mood to send a little magic over my way, then defy gravity on over to my Patreon to help pay for the tissues I went through to create this video. You'll get to hear my reactions to reading manga, videos of my cats, Smush and Margot, and read about my thoughts on whatever I'm obsessed with at any time, and also just other random stuff that I feel like putting on there that you won't be able to access here on my YouTube channel. So yeah, thank you if you do decide to go over there. Not obliged, obviously, but if you don't feel like doing that, you could just subscribe, hit the like, maybe leave a comment if you enjoyed this. And like I said, I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all. I also wanted to show you this fan-made poster that I found. It made me laugh so hard because look at it. Like, it's not bad or anything. It's just all their costumes are so different. And the way that Jeff Goldblum is just like floating in the sky with the top hat is just really funny to me. Like, look at all of them. That's awesome.